We're over halfway through the week. Welcome to Spicer and Company. I'm Sean Spicer.
And I'm Lindsay Keith. Well, the bad news this week is that 3 of the last 4 decisions by the justices were against conservatives. But if there's some good news, it's that we might have at least 1 to 2 vacancies this next term. And you know, Sean, this means that there should be a lot of attention on SCOTUS and what that means come November.
Yeah, absolutely. If you may recall, during the 2016 election, then candidate Trump made a big deal about who he would appoint to the court. He put out a big list, and the past 2 weeks have shown the importance of that list and of the court. Kellyanne Conway is about to join us to discuss this. And later in the show, we're going to continue our series, Battleground 2020. And we're going to look at Minnesota and what's at stake there. It's a state that, you know, has historically voted blue, but Republicans in the Trump campaign like their chances this year. The chair of the state's Republican Party is going to be here to talk about what they're doing. But as Lindsay just mentioned, conservatives going 3 out of 4 last week in the past 2 weeks. And yesterday, though, we did come away with a big win on school choice. The court ruled that taxpayer funds can be used to pay for private schools. U.S. News reports it this way: the Supreme Court's far-ranging ruling on school choice is a major victory for the Trump administration's school choice agenda. Indeed, it was a victory, again highlighting the importance of the court, but also addressing an issue that I think is at the heart of some of this current racial unrest. So let's bring in Counselor to the President, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Well, listen, I think you're the perfect guest here because you're a lawyer, you've been a pollster, you're top counselor in the White House. You can bring it all together. So President Trump's put 200 judges on the federal bench. The Supreme Court, he's put 2 on. This next election, I think we're going to see 1 to 2. Maybe you tell me, what do you want people to get away from understanding how important the court is when it comes to the presidency?
It's essential to the presidency and to your presidential vote. Why? Because we have 3 co-equal branches of government. And I think 2 of the 3 get outsized attention: the presidency, the executive branch, the Congress, the legislative branch. But it is the judiciary that has great dominion and authority over your personal liberties and your pocketbook issues. And we do see some unfortunate decisions coming down from federal judges routinely, and it really lays bare how critically important it is for folks to vote for people who will nominate judges who are not going to be beholden to public opinion polls, political pressure, special interest groups, or popular faces and places. They will interpret the law as it is written. And that's never been more important. You know, Sean, we were together in the 2016 campaign in those last few months. And as you pointed out quite correctly, candidate Trump put out a list of 21 judges. So you can look at them, you can vet them, you can research their biographies and their opinions on your own. And Hillary Clinton failed to do that. There's no indication Joe Biden will do that, because they know that people are going to immediately see these folks as making up the laws they go along, and they're going to reject that. That was an important piece for the president, also with evangelical voters, with libertarians, with original conservatives who are originalists when it comes to the Constitution. And it was also important that he put Mike Pence, the governor of Indiana, who had been a congressman for 12 years, who had worked in Washington but was never of Washington, putting him on the ticket as well. I think those were the 1-2 punch. This president reshaping the federal judiciary is going to be one of the most, I think, in the top 5 or 10 of his legacy as president. Look at the school choice decision by the Supreme Court just this week, the Espinosa case. Kendra Espinosa had one of her children being bullied for reading the Bible at recess. So she moved that child to a school of her choice. I believe it was a Christian school, used some of the tax credit money that was provided by her state of Montana. That case made it all the way to the Supreme Court. And here's what the Supreme Court said in a ruling of 5 to 4. The liberal bloc of 4 justices all stayed together against school children, particularly kids of color, having another choice from some of the failing public schools out there. They said that, look, the state is under no compulsion to fund private education, non-public schools, but if you decide to, you can't discriminate against religious schools. And we had in place for over a century something called the Blaine Amendments. They were dripping with anti-Catholic sentiment and regulation. Those are now gone because of the Supreme Court case. The upshot is school choice is thriving in this country. President Trump, as early as 2015, said, if we can dig out the Panama Canal, put a man on the moon, win 2 world wars, we certainly can provide a quality education. Sean, I understand philosophical, political differences on big issues like guns and abortion and taxes. I get that. I've never, ever, in 30 years of doing this, heard a single compelling reason why somebody's against school choice, why you're against children, particularly kids in communities of color, having just a better option. It has tripartisan support. Majorities of Republicans, Democrats, Independents all support it, and it's highly supported by Hispanics and African Americans. Let's give these kids an extra choice and a chance at life.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I just want to say I think absolutely on your points on the court are spot on. Biden does not want to put that list out there because people are going to see the kind of left-wing lunatics that he would put on the court. President Trump is not afraid to put out that list as he did last time and said he will again because he wants people to understand that they're going to follow the Constitution. But I want to get to what you just said about the court's decision, Kellyanne, because this is important. Number one, I will tell you why people are against it. It's because it undermines the teachers union and it undermines the bureaucracy that Democrats thrive on. But here's the thing that I think is fascinating in terms of the current environment, and you touched on this perfectly, is that there's so much going on in this country in terms of racial unrest, and a lot of it cuts back to the bare concept of opportunity. The one way that you give people opportunity is education. And education, giving people and saying that you are not bound, your future is not tied to your zip code. If you can go to any school of your choice, that gives people opportunity. It creates competitions for the schools. And Kellyanne, I think that right now, as we're dealing with all this racial unrest, one of the things that people should be looking at is this decision. Because this choice that we can give people helps lift people out of poverty. It gives them an opportunity to send their kid to a college, or excuse me, to a school that could get them on to college and bring opportunity that they might not otherwise have.
There's no doubt. In fact, at the President's State of the Union address this year, we had Janiyah and her mom from Pennsylvania. Janiyah is one of thousands and thousands of school children in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Sean, who has benefited directly from one of those scholarships, opportunity scholarships, school choice. But we have 50,000 kids on the waiting list just in Pennsylvania. The overwhelmingly Republican legislature there has passed many times a school choice measure. Democratic Governor Tom Wolf keeps vetoing it. And I would just ask Tom Wolf and others who are against this, Joe Biden who's against school choice. Years ago, as it disgracefully, people stood in front of the schoolhouse door preventing children of color from going into the school and assimilating it and having their rights. Now you're standing in the schoolhouse door preventing the kids from exiting and just giving another option. Also, I just wanted to say last week I was in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with Vice President Pence, and we were celebrating the 30th anniversary of the nation's first of its kind school choice program. It happened right there in Milwaukee. Our friend, former Governor Tommy Thompson, started it, and boy, 1,000 flowers have bloomed since. Since then, we have just tens of thousands of kids benefiting from these scholarships. In this White House, we are also pushing for something called Education Freedom Scholarships. Bradley Byrne has the bill in the House, Ted Cruz in the Senate. But we really want some Democrats to get on board here, Sean. Why? The COVID-19 hit every school child. Every student in this country was impacted somehow. And at one point in this country, nobody was in an actual classroom. We've never had that before in modern times. And so if COVID is hit, let's try to give other choices by providing education freedom scholarships, because we saw the true digital divide. We saw the problems with distance learning for some of these kids who didn't have the technological capability, didn't have the tools necessary to allow them to compete and to learn in those last 3 months when they were trying to do it through distance learning. There was a real divide in the distance learning capabilities. We saw that in many communities. Another reason to have alternatives and opportunity scholarships, freedom scholarships for these students.
I couldn't say it better, Kellyanne. People need to understand the importance of this and what you're talking about, what the court decided, what the administration is doing, because this is the key. If we can get people the education and the opportunity, it starts solving so many of the other problems that we have in this country. So, again, I thank you for coming back to the show and explaining this as two big issues between the court and school choice. So thank you again for being on. Look forward to having you back soon.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks, Sean. All the best. Thank you.
Thanks, Kellyanne. All right, Katrina Pearson, the senior advisor for the Trump 2020 campaign, is joining us to discuss how the court will play a role in their strategy and how they're going to brand Joe Biden. He was just asked straight out if he has cognitive problems. We're going to show you what he said. And our Battleground 2020 series continues. We're going to take a look at Minnesota, all that, when we come back.